What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Thoughts with Nick. Today's quote comes from LeVar Ball, and what he said is, "Stay in your lane." If you're not sure who LeVar Ball is, he is the father of the Ball brothers, and that much is obvious from the last name. But anyway, for a little more context, two of the brothers are in the NBA, and the third is an aspiring rapper, I guess you could say. And at one point, they were all working on getting to the NBA, and he was pushing very hard to get them all on the Lakers. The first son did end up actually getting drafted to the Lakers, so I don't know, to a certain degree, I guess you could say he got part of what he wanted. But anyway, when that was going down, he was just on a crazy media run. It's one of those things where you kind of had to be there, you know. It's just crazy sound bites left and right, just hilarious things. At one point, I think he said he could beat Michael Jordan one-on-one. Like, dude, you gotta love it. You gotta love it. And that quote's from that time period, and he was saying it in a fairly rude fashion. So if you look it up, you might have a laugh. And I always go with a kind of serious quote, so I figured I'd mix in something a little more comedic this time. But anyway, what I think he was getting at was, you got to focus on yourself. And I want to talk about that today. I want to talk about focusing on yourself, and specifically kind of shine some light on the difficulties of doing that, of focusing on yourself in a world of distractions. And I feel like today, that's the world that we live in, and it's tough for me to comment because it's all I can speak from in at least my present experience, you know. So I can't say that there are more distractions now than there were previously, but I feel like there are. I feel like technology is kind of accentuating distractions, making them more readily available, making it easier to become distracted because of things like TV and phones and all that kind of stuff. And when I say distracted, and when I'm talking about focusing on yourself, what I'm talking about is kind of like long term. Like, everyone has dreams and aspirations and goals and things that they want to do and achieve, and ultimately, what I'm talking about is the person that you want to be, the person that you want to become, the person that you're working on becoming. And I feel like it's very easy to end up wasting time or losing your path along the way because of distractions in the world that we live in. And so now that I kind of explained that a little bit, I already kind of said technology is one example. So I want to give an example from my own life before I get into it further. And this is really why I actually wanted to talk about this, because I've been struggling a little bit with distractions recently, and I've been slacking on the videos. Like, when I first started, I was knocking out one a week or one every 2 weeks, and now I'm like one a month. And that's just not, that ain't where I want to be. I can do more than that, and I got more stuff to say than that. And one of the things that's been distracting me is watching sports. And the NFL season just started, so I've been finding myself on a Monday night or a Thursday night watching some game with some teams that, like, I don't care about the outcome. I don't care who wins. I don't care who loses. I am not invested at all. Yet there I am with the TV on, or even worse, maybe I got the TV on and I'm on my phone. And I don't care. I'm basically just sitting there wasting time. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with watching sports if it's something that you're invested in and you care about. I'm talking about, I don't care, and I'm doing like next to nothing, but I have so many things that I want to do, and it just, long story short, I could be making a better use of my time, and I'm not. And it's something that I want to work on, so I wanted to talk about it, and I guess share it with others, because I feel like this is not a problem that just affects me. I feel like this is very common, and it's very easy today to lose sight of your ambitions. So another TV, that's part of technology. That was, I guess, my example, TV and sports. But another aspect is phones, and specifically social media, which I will get into more in depth in another video. But with social media, I feel like it's kind of a twofold effect in terms of focusing on yourself and distractions, because it's a distraction and it also takes away from the focus on yourself and your goals, because a lot of times you'll see like the best things, the highlights from other people. And I know I said something like that before, but that's just what it is. Most people, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, because that, like, those are the things that I guess you think other people want to see, you know, they're cool to share. And that's true. It is cool to see travel pictures and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. I do the same type shit. But it can just give kind of a distorted perception of reality, I guess you could say, because you see all the highlights and awesome pictures from other people, and it contrasts quite drastically with your own everyday reality, which, like, whether you like your job or not, whether you do or don't, and whatever, you got hobbies, it can still be monotonous compared to things like awesome tropical vacation, you know. Like, I'm not saying that everyday life is a drag, you know, but when you compare that with the highlights of everybody else, and you see like 150 people consecutively doing, like, on these incredible trips or incredible places, and you just got home from work and you got to wake up and go to work again tomorrow, and you got no vacation on the horizon, it's like, damn, that kind of starts being like, oh man. And then there's all the other people, super famous people on celebrities on social media that are just always doing crazy shit or cool shit or whatever, and that too, it distorts the perception of reality, because that's just like so far from normal life, right? And I think it's important that that's kind of realized and rationalized, you know, and that you internalize those thoughts and escape that idea or that feeling that ends up distracting and taking away from the focus on yourself, because you're seeing other people doing other things, right? Regardless of what anyone else is doing, you got to bring the focus back here. You got to bring the focus back to yourself. You got to remember what it is that's important to you, what it is that you want to do, and what it is that you want to achieve, regardless of anybody else and whatever anyone else is doing. Because at the end of the day, ultimately, the fact of the matter is, it does not affect you. It doesn't affect you. It doesn't matter what they're doing. It matters what you're doing. It matters what you are doing to get to your goals and the places that you want to be. It does not matter what anybody else is doing except for the person that you see when you look in the mirror, when you're by yourself. Oh, that was stupid. But anyway, I think you get the point. Social media is a major distraction that not only sucks up your time, but it also can make you become cynical, or I guess skeptical, or lose sight of the path that's going to end up taking you where you want to be. And that's not, you can't be doing that. You got to stay on the path. And I'm talking to myself here. You got to stay, maybe not on the social media part, because I don't really be on that too much anymore. But anyway, what I'm talking about when I say myself is locking in, man. I got to lock back in. I've been not locked in on the videos. So anyway, we all got to lock in. You got to lock back in. If you're hearing this and you're not locked in, you got to lock in. You got to focus on yourself, because you deserve it. You deserve your own attention, rather than spending and wasting that attention on other people. Because like I just said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect you, and you're wasting your time. you're wasting your focus, you're wasting your energy, and it's finite. It's limited. You get 24 hours in a day. And what I was saying with the football example, a football game might be like 3+ hours long. And sure, it comes on at 8, but that's 8 to 11 p.m. I could be going to bed at like 9:30 and reading one of my books until then. That's like a twofold thing that I'm not doing because I'm doing something that matters nothing to me, right? Like that's I guess what I'm getting at when I say we all gotta lock in. There's 24 hours in the day, and we got to do a better job to make sure that we're using them wisely and in a capacity that contributes to the person that we want to become. And if you're already doing that, you should really commend yourself, because that is something to be proud of. And you should take pride in that, because not allowing yourself to be distracted and staying locked in, it's empowering, for real. So I'm trying to get back to that place, and that was, like I said already, the inspiration for the video, and an inspiration for you guys to get off social media. I've already done it for the most part, so you should do it. It's worthwhile. Hey, just give it a try. But anyway, another thing that I think is a major distraction today is the news cycle. It's vicious, it's rapid, and I swear if you don't keep your head screwed on, it'll have you spinning like a ceiling fan. Like, I don't know, you gotta make sure it's on there tight, man. I don't know, it just seems like one thing after the next, it's just hitting. Like, we got the Epstein files, and they ain't coming out, they ain't doing shit with that, but then then Charlie Kirk gets assassinated, and then that's going on, and then Israel's bombing Qatar, and it's like, what? And that's all within like a week. How? I mean, honestly, I even try not to be really watching the news a super lot, but I do stay somewhat caught up with current events. And it's like, damn, like, how can you even keep up with everything that's going on? It's just a massive, I feel like it's just so distracting, and it can make it hard at times to focus on yourself, because there's all these things going on all the time, all around the world, and we have so much exposure to all of them through the way technology is today, largely, in the news and TV and all that kind of a thing. And I don't know, I think it's honestly very distracting, and I think it makes it really hard to focus on yourself when you hear about all these other things that are going on. And most of the time what you hear on the news is largely bad, and it's just like, it can kind of drain you and make you not even want to put in that extra effort. So I'm not saying don't watch the news and don't stay up on current events. What I will say is, you can't, I guess, put too much like stock in it. You got to pay attention to the degree that like it affects you, and it's going to continue to affect you, but you can't let it rule your life, because it very easily can and will, and it shouldn't. Because just like I was saying before, I mean, I guess in this context, current events and that kind of thing, it can affect you much more than like what other people are doing or on social media. So that's why I'm saying, to a certain degree, you do have to pay somewhat of attention, because you will be affected a little bit, and you can respond better if you're better informed to certain situations and all that kind of a thing. But it can be easy to let it overwhelm you, because there is so much going on, and because there's such a rapid turnover of all these things. Like, something that seems so important suddenly just gets swept under the rug, and the explanation is just, it's not up to par. And then, okay, it doesn't matter that it's not up to par, because here's another thing that you got to focus on, because something else that's just crazy just went down. And it's impossible to kind of keep track of everything and ensure that everything makes sense and is logical and everything that goes along with that, because it's so fast paced. So that's why I'm saying, like, sometimes at a certain point, it's just much more important to focus on yourself and remember what it is that you want to do and who you want to be and the steps that it's going to take to get there, and being realistic about it, and not getting caught up in trying to be in a rush, because you have to be patient. And I think that's also like another thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, which is focusing on yourself is kind of an act of patience, as is weeding out the distractions, because it ensures that your patience will be more effective, if that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to get at with that is, and I kind of already said it, but I'll say it again. There's 24 hours in a day. If you're patient, there's still 24 hours in a day. Nothing changes. So it's always going to take time, which is why the patience is crucial. But if you eliminate the distractions, the patience will be rendered more valuable, because you'll be using your time more wisely. So not only will it be more valuable, but you'll realize what it is that you've been being patient for in a quicker fashion. And maybe you can even take it further. Now that you've eliminated the distractions, you'll have realized your dream future in a more efficient fashion. I don't know. I feel like that kind of made sense. But yeah. Your patience will pay off in a shorter duration. I guess that's a more concise way to phrase it, if you will. And like I said, it's kind of like an act of service to yourself, because in the sense of delayed gratification, you're investing time now for something that isn't going to be realized for a much longer time to come. So it's an act of service to yourself to both be patient and to eliminate the distractions, because eliminating the distractions makes the patience more effective. And honestly, I'm not sure that there's too much else I want to say today. I feel like that was kind of what I wanted to talk about, just a world of distractions. Two of them that I find most pressing, I guess, social media and the news, because both of them can really suck up your time and take away from your focus on yourself by making you focus on other people and other events that largely don't really affect you, but they end up taking up your time, which, as I've said a few times, because I know I repeated myself, is quite finite. So, yeah, I don't know. Just, I guess, try and be more aware of that if you can, because I've tried to make some efforts. I was doing better before, so I gotta, like I said, lock back in again, especially with the sports and all that, and try and get back on my grind. And I hope you'll do the same. What was it? There was something Benjamin Franklin had said of, I got it. Lost time is never found. I think I might have said that before in a different video. But lost time is never found. You ain't getting it back. So let's all try and lock in a little bit if we can. We're coming up on the end of the year here. We got 3 more months. Today's October 1st. We got 3 full months. So let's make it happen. Thanks for taking the time to listen to me, and enjoy the rest of your day.